Hi everyone, welcome back to the Insights podcast by the UNSW Law Society. And today we're joined by our Vice Presidents of Skills and Mooting, Adithya and Maddy, to address the stigma surrounding competitions head on by presenting relatable stories, expert insights, and also practical advice.
Hey everyone, my name's Addy and I'm the Vice President of Mooting for 2024.
Hi everyone, my name's Maddy and I am the Skills Vice President for 2024.
So, before we start, we would like to acknowledge the Gadigal people, the traditional custodians of the land on which the podcast is recorded, and to pay our respects to their elders past, present, and emerging.
Yep, so let's just start us off with a few icebreakers. So the first icebreaker is, if you could have any fictional character to represent you in court, who would you choose and why? Let's start with Addy.
I'd go for Bugs Bunny. I think that would be the fictional character for me because he gets himself out of a lot of interesting situations.
Okay.
Or the main character in the Bee movie, The Bee.
Oh,
with Barry
the
Benson.
Bee.
Yeah,
That's sick.
I would go for that as well. So
Okay.
probably, yeah. Actually, let's do The Bee. But
And
yeah,
he
I'll roll
actually
with
did
that.
go in court in the movie.
I would say, the person that I thought of was Edna Mode because she's a pretty ruthless, cutthroat person and I feel she would fight to the ends of the earth for me.
Another little icebreaker. What's a common stereotype about law that you think is accurate or not accurate? Let's start with Maddie this time.
Lots of people think that UCIT is the best law school because it has a higher ATAR requirement. But if you actually look into I believe it's the QS world rankings for law, UNSW has beat UCIT, I think, 3 years now.
Oh, Maddie's gone with like a statistical one, but I'll just do something more like general. I think law school can seem quite daunting for everyone. But once you really get into the university experience and the university life, it becomes like any other subject. You've got more readings to do, but apart from that, it's the similar kind of people that you see outside of law. I think it's just a regular university experience, so it's good.
Okay.
Hashtag myth debunk.
Exactly.
We'll just start with obviously an introduction of, you guys are the vice presidents of Mooting and vice president of Skills. So we'll just, talk a bit about what you guys do and your roles and what you guys like about it.
Yes, as the VP for Mooting. Yes, so I oversee 10 different Mooting directors. Each of those directors have a different role. We cover beginners, intermediate and senior Mooting, internal Mooting programs, and we also look to facilitate UNSW's Mooting involvement on an external level, both domestically and internationally, and that's facilitated by our external directors. And we also have an open Mooting program as well that we oversee, which basically looks to destigmatize the kind of daunting nature that mooting holds and tries to make it a more welcoming environment to moot. And finally, we have our training directors, which look to really bring in new materials for our mooters to learn and to really develop their skills so that they feel more confident and empowered when they are actually conducting the mooting process. In terms of what I have enjoyed the most about mooting, it's more so about seeing how far you've come from when you did your first moot and where you are now. Like I remember where I was when I first started. That was someone who was a nervous wreck. I still am, to a certain extent, very nervous when I do get to moot. But I think it tells you how much it helps a lot when you keep mooting, you keep persevering. You develop your confidence and you develop your growth.
And as vice president of the skills portfolio, I oversee a team of 26 directors who are in charge of our 4 different kinds of competitions. So those include mediation, negotiation, client interviewing, and witness examination. Then within them, we have beginners and seniors competitions for all except negotiations, which also has an intermediate competition for second years because that competition is historically more popular. So we're very lucky at UNSW to have a very renowned reputation globally for our skills. And that means that, like mooting, we do a myriad of internal and external competitions, both domestically and international, which is very exciting. What I've enjoyed the most so far is seeing students compete in competitions, whether they're they've done it since first year and they're in fourth year now, or they're only just beginning. It doesn't matter. Everyone is so passionate and really puts their heart into it, and it really pays off because everyone I've seen has had a great time and felt that it's improved their communication skills, and they feel that, you know, if they want to go into law, it will help them become a better lawyer, and if they don't want to go into law, whatever field, it's increased their confidence.
Sounds awesome. So, what would you say is the academic and professional value of participating in law competitions, including skill development and career opportunities?
Or any skills competition or mooting competition is an invaluable experience. My confidence in my communication abilities has just grown exponentially since I started doing the skills competitions. For example, I'm studying a course at the moment called Resolving Civil Disputes. A very big part of that course is looking at negotiations as an alternate dispute resolution type. So I've really been able to utilize the skills that I've developed in mediation and negotiation, and that's made me feel so much more confident in that course at least. But more broadly, professionally, whilst uni lectures are very important because you learn the technical aspects of law, I think the skills competitions really engage with the human aspect of the profession, because society is developing, there are technological advancement, but the human factor will always remain within law. And I think through the skills competitions, you learn how to work with clients, how to manage different situations, try to understand how clients feel and what their best interests are, which is, of course, fundamentally important in any career within the law realm or beyond, really.
I might be slightly biased when I say this, but I think mooting's probably one of the most fundamental activities that someone should at least try in their law school experience. And that's because some of the skills that you learn from mooting transcend the moot itself, or even transcends standing up in a court and talking. If we look to the academic side of things, helping you with your legal research, your referencing, your ability to communicate efficiently and effectively, those are some of the biggest skills that you'll learn from mooting that will absolutely help you in your academic life. I can tell you for a fact that my ability to communicate on a piece of paper has become a lot less rambly than it used to be, purely because mooting forces you to think very straightforward and to think about how am I going to communicate this in the best way possible. Professionally, mooting can lead to so many different opportunities. Maddy talked about the skills that you learn from skills, and likewise those skills that are applicable for mooting as well. But also being in front of judges, being in front of like-minded individuals can lead you into so many different areas. My good friends and one really good mooter as well has managed to find all of their kind of job contacts and their job opportunities through mooting, whether that be through a coach, whether that be through a competitor or a judge. So that's one of the fascinating things about mooting. And professionally, they're always looking for mooters, because if you're a good mooter, then what it shows is that you're a good communicator. You're able to distill complex legal problems into very simple solutions that you can provide to a judge, and in the same way you can provide to a client. So in that sense, mooting is very, very effective.
I think it's exactly like you said, like both of your guys' experience and how Addy, from the fear of joining the competitions to building on that confidence, and also Maddy, like you said, you get to, build on these interpersonal skills, and it's, it carries on into your actual life, like work prospects, and that's really cool. And I think that epitomizes exactly what your roles are like trying to achieve and help like students. Both of you guys have touched upon, the common misconceptions and also the initial fear of joining all of these competitions. And yeah, like Maddy mentioned before, there's 4 competitions that you oversee. We'll just wanted you to, share your experience about how you facilitate those competitions and talk about your guys' experiences, how you grew from that fear and, built on this confidence that you now have.
Speaking from personal experience, I completely understand the fear in starting a competition. I remember my very first skill competition was mediation. I was so terrified. I remember it was just before we went back into lockdown. So My partner and I, right before, we were freaking out. We were like, let's fake COVID and go to Bondi Beach. But thank goodness we didn't do that. We competed, and I can say with full honesty, it's one of the best decisions of my life, because since then I've enjoyed it so much. I've met so many people through the competitions and developed lifelong skills that I know will benefit me forever. I also think that I had a theatre background, so I loved the way in which you really get to take on characters, and it's sort of the opportunity before becoming a lawyer where you can put yourself in that position and see what it's like and understand how it is to represent a client. So I love that aspect of it. I was incredibly nervous starting university. Like everyone says, you're going from a big fish in a small pond to a small fish in a very large pond, and it's very overwhelming. Everyone tells you it's so competitive and it's very rigorous academically. So I found skills to be a real outlet, and I still do.
Yeah, so people listening in who are friends with me or know what my mooting experience has been like will probably laugh at this because I've said it so many times, but I actually dropped out of my very first moot. And like how Maddy talked about the nerves she faced when she was doing her first mediation, the same thing applied to me, and I'm sure the same thing applies to every single person who does their first mediation moot, any kind of competition that UNSW law offers. And the only thing I can say to kind of get over that, and I don't have any particular advice on how to kind of, like a particular tactic to kind of get over something, but I think all I could say was it's important to persevere, and I think that's what mooting has taught me. It is a difficult, daunting experience when you first enter it, but the more and more you do it, the more experience you get, the more relaxed you get when you moot, and it overall becomes a lot more enjoyable. So I think having that in the back of your mind that, yeah, I'm going to have to push through something here is okay to have. By pushing through, you're making a really, really big step, not only in your mooting career, but also as a life skill in teaching you how to overcome hurdles as well.
Building off of what Addy said about getting more relaxed as you go through them, in my experience, and I think a lot of my peers' experience, it's very much, it gets to the point where it's like second nature. You get a scenario and you read through it and you go through the same processes, and it's fun. It's like a puzzle, like problem solving.
What made you want to take that initial step forward?
I think the most important thing that I took coming into university was to keep an open mind, and that involved me trying out for every single competition that there was, basically having no kind of preconceived notions about what that competition would be. I was lucky enough to have a cousin who'd already kind of gone through UNSW law, was in the later years of UNSW law, who'd done mooting and kind of done quite well at that as well. That was also there in kind of comforting me in seeing that this was kind of a pathway that someone close to me could take. So it's something that I also wanted to try out as well. And I guess I kind of slightly cheated and used that to my advantage. From my first moot onwards, instead of quitting, I kind of thought, well, he's gone and done this, why can't I? So I guess it was lucky that I had someone that, had already gone through this pathway before, which kind of assisted me. And I know people don't necessarily have someone like that, which is why the only thing I can leave them with is to say that push through, persevere, and you'll get to the place that you want to be.
I think for me, I really made a conscious effort to come to university with the mindset of take every opportunity, try everything you can, really challenge myself. Don't just try to stay on the sidelines or whatever. And I think scientifically, like the rush of adrenaline you get by coming into a competition nervous and then completing it is unmatched. You feel so good about yourself. It's such a rewarding experience. But I also do want to make the point of saying, if you're not in first year, if you're second year, third year, fourth year, that please still join skills. And I feel that there's a stigma where and I'm from mooting, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So there's a stigma where if you don't do it in your first year, that's it. You can't do it at all because you'll already sort of be behind. But that is not at all the case. I have people in my year who started very recently and are phenomenal negotiators, amazing in their respective competitions. So just don't be afraid at any point and challenge yourself. Even if you are afraid, challenge yourself and make the conscious decision to say, yes, I'm afraid, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I know I'll feel good about it after.
On that point, actually, I actually haven't done any law competitions myself either, right? So that's really helped inspire me to want to like try and not feel like I'm falling behind since I haven't done it yet. Especially for some first time mooters or first-time negotiators, what would you say are some strategies that you can do to make the law competitions feel more inclusive and less intimidating for these first-time participants?
Well, yeah, one of the biggest things we wanted to solve this year as a mooting portfolio was to get more people involved, to make people take that first step and get over the hurdle of saying this is going to be a daunting experience. To a certain extent it will, but that was always the aim, try and get more people involved. So we've done a number of videos, more informal videos this year, about kind of destigmatizing some of the things that come along with mooting. First, we looked into what are the kind of programs we're running this year, but then we went into how do we get over the nerves, how do we get over the kind of difficulties you experience before you start your first moot. And then we've also got a video on what's the academic and the professional benefits of mooting as well. And that's actually coming out soon, probably in term 2, so keep an eye out for that as well. That's from the mooting side of things. From a personal side of things, the mooting portfolio also gives a range of training materials and a range of mooting workshops as well, which are meant to help kind of facilitate that first mooting experience and make sure that it's a slightly more seamless process. It's always going to be slightly rough, your first experience, because you have no idea what you're doing, let's be honest. But yeah, coming in with that open mind, knowing that, yeah, it's not going to be perfect and I'm going to be okay with that. And trying to be as prepared as possible for your first moot in the way that you can. So going through all the relevant materials, trying your best, I think that's all anyone can ask for. But as I said before, just keep it in the back of your mind that it's not going to be the best experience on round 1, but the more and more you do it, the more comfortable you'll get and the more experience you'll get, and thereby more confident you'll get when you do moot as well.
As a first year, read the handbook for starters. There's so much good information in them. Go in with no expectations, just go in to have fun, to give it a go. We're very lucky to have amazing judges, both internal and external professionals, and they will provide extensive, invaluable feedback that will help you develop those skills no matter what level you're at. In terms of what Skills as a portfolio does, this year I have the most incredible team. I could not be prouder of all my directors. They are all so approachable, lovely, caring humans, and they want to help you. And I think all of us are very inspired by the competitors and the passion that students show towards these competitions. So reach out to us at any time and we'll answer. My email is skills@unswlawsoc.org.
Well, I'd just like to echo what Maddy said in terms of that approachability with our directors. I can't be happier with the portfolio that I have working alongside me. I think everyone's amazing. I think everyone has a really deep passion for mooting and wants to continue to moot. And I think they also want to give back. They want to show all future competitors that this is a space that's really welcoming and something that you can really get into as well.
Skills also has workshops for all 4 competitions. They have all occurred now, but the slides are on the event pages, and if you want access to the recordings, please shoot me an email.
I caught that, you're not supposed to have any expectations of thinking you'll do the best in your first round, but I feel like nonetheless there are still some initial expectations that you should have in mind. So I just wanted to ask, what are those expectations that you should have, and how should you prepare for them?
Well, I think definitely prepare. Or, well, you could just go in and YOLO it if you wanted to, but I think you'll make the most out of the competition if you prepare, read through the handbook, and give it your best shot. I think that's the way. Through that, you'll be able to get really good feedback that you can implement for future competitions. I also think being a competition, there are rounds, there are final rounds, and that can be sort of daunting. And, if you don't break into a final round, that might be disheartening for some students, but I really want to emphasize that no matter how far you make it, skills is so valuable. You will improve and develop so many communication skills and the ability to, speak to people as a person, even in your everyday life. So don't be disheartened. So I think go into it prepared, try your best, but also knowing that you're just there to have fun and improve on your skills. Yeah.
So going into a mooting competition, in terms of some of the expectations that you're looking at, I would liken it to the phrase you're going to reap what you sow. In that sense, the amount of effort that you put into the lead up of a moot is the the amount or the product that will show during the moot, or the quality of the product will show in that moot. So basically that means that if you expect to do well in a moot, then you have to expect yourself to try and practice and put in the dedication and the work to do well in that moot.
To wrap up, we've talked a lot about how, whether or not it's a first year or a fifth year, a lot of people don't really have the experience, and regardless, I think everyone should at least try one competition, or even all of them, at least one point in their law degree. And for the sake of that, I just want to ask you guys, how would you guys prepare for a competition? We just want to know a rundown of how you guys would go through a competition.
Well, whilst it is different in each skills competition, I'll use negotiations as an example. As a beginner, first of all, you should read through the handbook. That's super valuable. Will tell you a lot about the structure and ways to prepare. So you'll get the general facts and then a set of confidential facts for whichever party you are. I would read through the general facts first once without writing anything. Read through the confidential facts once without writing anything, then go through them again and maybe highlight some parts, take some notes. Then I'll move to a Word doc. At the top have how the time division works. So in negotiations, it's 50 minutes. Normally you have openings and formalities at the start, a story time, fact finding, option generation, and option evaluation. So you might spend like 5 minutes on this area, blah, blah, blah. You do negotiations with a partner. I'm usually the client and my partner's normally the lawyer. So I will write my opening and they will write their opening, and then we will generate some questions together that we have for the other side, preempt some questions that the other side might have for us, and think about ways that we would answer those. Then we'll try to list some most favorable options, some creative options. Yeah, also consider what our interests are, what our strategy is, and what our main goals are.
Let's maybe situate ourselves as a beginner mooter doing their very first moot, because I think that's probably the most helpful. Let's say you've never done mooting before. I think the first thing you should do, as Maddie said, is to kind of go over those introductory materials. First, go through the Introduction to Mooting workshop. Then you can have a look through the handbook. I know it's quite big, but have a skim to see what's the general rules, what you should be looking for. As you approach the day, just be more wary that your problem question is going to come out this day, and set yourself some time across the week to kind of dedicate towards the moot. In terms of actually preparing for the moot, let's say you have a moot on Monday, you will receive the problem question 6 p.m. 6 days before. So that'll be Tuesday, 6 p.m. the week before. When I receive the problem question, the first thing I do is actually look at the grounds of appeal to see what kind of law that you're actually dealing with, and jot that down in your head as you're going through it when you're looking at the facts. So first jot down the grounds of appeal, and then go back, have a skim through the facts the first time to just see what kind of things jump out to you, and what kind of things you find interesting or intriguing. In beginners, we do provide competitor hints as well. Yeah, so note down the grounds of appeal, have a first look through the facts, and probably one or two looks through the facts on the night of receiving the problem question, and then have a look at the competitor hints in terms of it providing some level of case law about where you should look to in terms of some of the areas of the grounds of appeal. Now, you might not have studied the law that you're going to go into and do the moot on, and that's okay. That's basically how I've run with every single moot. I've never known the law about the moot until I've gone and kind of prepared for that moot. But during the week is basically, after reading the facts, getting an understanding of the competitor hints, have a look through the cases that they provide, and see what they're telling you, what are the legal principles, and how is that helping you with the particular ground that you're arguing, and in light of the facts that you've seen. And you kind of continue that process throughout the week. And your written submissions will be due 2 days before at 9 p.m. So if you have a Monday moot at 6 p.m, your writtens will be due on Saturday night at 6 p.m, which would mean that ideally you would like to work on them from Wednesday onwards. Like, you want to keep looking to revise over them and just adding to them as you go. But basically, note the grounds of appeal, note the competitor hints, have it read through the facts a couple times when you first get it, and throughout the week, look at the cases that the competitor hints tell you about. And if you don't have competitor hints, kind of go off the kind of, it's an appeal court, so you'll know what kind of cases the previous judge would have used. So go through some of those cases, see what the legal principles are saying, and then work through your written submission. So submit that prior to 6 p.m. Saturday night if you have a Monday moot.
Those are some good steps and tips because I actually haven't done any as well, so I'll definitely follow along. Any other listeners out there who are attempting it for the first time, those tips will help out and help them succeed. So thank you so much, Maddy and Addy, for coming in today and spending the time to give us some wonderful insights into skills and moots. So that's all for today, and we hope to see you next time. Tune in for our next episode.